had a national tragedy. Two airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center.
This day changed all of us.
On September 11th, 2001, the day began just like any other day. The sun rose, people went to work, commercials ran. The day was just like any other day. On that Tuesday morning, 19 al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked 4 passenger jets, intending to fly them in suicide attacks into targeted buildings. 2 of these planes were used to fly into the World Trade Center. On that day, September 11th, 2001, 2,996 people died. More than 6,000 people were injured also. Where were you during the 9/11 attacks?
I was here in this classroom. It was very, very scary. I remember the whole day. We got an announcement over I think it was over the phone or either or that or the computer. And we were told that something terrible happened and that we should just be calm.
Okay. When 9/11 hit, I was in 4th grade and I was in Miss Paul's classroom actually. I don't remember what we were doing, but she had just told some kind of a joke and we were all laughing, and then the phone rang and she picked it up and then her smile kind of like melted off her face and she goes, "What?" And then she kind of put her hand over her mouth and she goes, "Oh my God." And we all kind of fell silent and we were staring at her like, what's going on? And then we see this one tear go down her face, and so we're like, what? Like, what could have happened? What's such a big deal?
And then they told us what happened, and some of the people turned their TVs on, and remember in the old days we had these TVs, and we had those, and we saw the planes hitting the towers.
I think either we wheeled a TV into our classroom or someone else had a TV in their classroom, and we were able to actually watch the planes coming into the buildings. And I mean, as 4th graders, like, we had no idea what was going on.
We explained it, I believe we explained it to the children because we were all in such shock. I think I ran over to the other teacher's room and said, oh my gosh, did you hear?" And then our job was to keep the children quiet, so that was a bit difficult because we were so upset.
And it was scary just because all the teachers were scared too, and you could tell they were scared, and this was a really big deal. So school got out early, and then my dad came and picked up me and my brother, and we went home for the day.
I think the principal came in and said, okay, this is what happened. We want you just to relax. I remember in middle school, they were showing the pictures, and they were showing what was going on TV. And the problem with that was that they kept showing the planes hitting the towers, and so they kept repeating it. So some of the younger kids were thinking that more planes are coming and more planes are coming, so that was a problem. And then in the early part of it too, they were showing everything. So they also had the pictures of the kids, people jumping out, and so you could see little things, and you think, what is that falling? And thought, oh my gosh, that someone's jumping out, and that someone just died. So it was just awful. And you know, there was fire and smoke, and then I mean, you could see the what happened. That's what happened that day and that time. Later on, when I went home, then I found out that things were much worse than I even thought, and it still makes me cry to this day.
Okay. On the day of the 9/11 attacks, I was actually on maternity leave, and I, at the time, was in public relations and led the Northwest Airlines account. So I was just sitting, feeding my son, watching TV, and I saw the plane fly into the World Trade Center. Right then I knew I had to go to work, and I took the baby to daycare that I had never, ever taken him to. It was his very first day of being gone, which was terrifying. Dropped him off, and I raced to Northwest Airlines. And at the time, we didn't know whose planes had flown into the World Trade Center. And as we were trying to figure that out, we heard that another plane had fallen someplace over rural Pennsylvania. We still didn't know if that was a Northwest Airlines plane. So the president of Northwest Airlines said, "Bring them down." And all of the planes had to go down wherever they were, and we didn't know where they were. And back then, it wasn't as computerized, so we had printouts of all of the planes trying to figure out which plane landed where, and if one of our planes was one of the ones that had killed all of those people. And as we're trying to do that, my phone rang, and it was another client whose office was on the 100th floor of the Second World Trade Center. And she made it out, but she said it was horrible. She said that they saw the first plane fly into the First World Trade Center, and they didn't really think much about it. They just drank their coffee, looked at the plane, and their boss said, well, we better leave. So she said she called her mom, she called her boyfriend, shut down her computer, and went out to the elevator bank and didn't know if she should walk down or take the elevator. And just then the elevator doors opened. They went straight down, and right when they got to the bottom, the second plane hit. She was that close. And some of my clients died that day. And so the stress of everything happening and not knowing what was going to happen to the world if we were under attack, if the world was ever going to be the same again. And I don't think the world ever will be the same again after 9/11.
The New York City Fire Department sent out 200 units, which was half the department, to the site of the 9/11 attacks in New York City. Osama bin Laden, the leader of the terrorist group known as Al-Qaeda, declared a holy war against the United States in 1998. Some people think that the suicide terrorism that went into the U.S. wouldn't have worked if the U.S. didn't have any troops in Saudi Arabia. Osama bin Laden, the leader of the terrorist group called Al-Qaeda, at first denied having any role in the 9/11 attacks, but then eventually he said that they were his idea and that he should get credit for it. Osama bin Laden was killed in Pakistan on May 2nd, 2011, shortly after 1 a.m. He was killed by Navy SEALs of the U.S. Naval Special Warfare Development Group, also known as DEVGRU or SEAL Team 6.
Good evening. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. It was nearly 10 years ago that a bright September day was darkened by the worst attack on the American people in our history. The images of 9/11 are seared into our national memory. Hijacked planes cutting through a cloudless September sky, the Twin Towers collapsing to the ground, black smoke billowing up from the Pentagon, the wreckage of Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where the actions of heroic citizens saved even more heartbreak and destruction. And yet we know that the worst images are those that were unseen to the world. The empty seat at the dinner table, children who were forced to grow up without their mother or their father, parents who would never know the feeling of their child's embrace, nearly 3,000 citizens taken from us, leaving a gaping hole in our hearts. On September 11th, 2001, in our time of grief, the American people came together. We offered our neighbors a hand, and we offered the wounded our blood.
America will grieve, America will remember, but America will never be the same. after 9/11.